All right, you guys, happy Thursday. There is so much going on in the world. It looks as though the first phase of the Epstein files have been released. And to be honest, it doesn't really look like much, like a nothing burger. Also, remember Ari Emanuel, WME exec CEO, who came out to defend Blake and Ryan against Justin Baldoni, Bologna, whatever his name is? You know, Ari, the preschool rhyming tough guy in Hollywood, too cool to learn his clients' names. Well, now, Freakonomics is saying, they were the ones that hosted him when he said this, that the footage, the video footage of this has been lost. So we will never be able to see that interview. Yeah, right. But first, and before we also discuss the Tate brothers, they've just landed on American soil and people are up in arms. I first want to tell you guys that I got the legal clearance to speak to you about my prison phone call with Harvey Weinstein and what brought me to do this series. And so I'm so excited. So let's jump right back in. Welcome back to Candace. Also, sorry we're 30 minutes late. I've actually done 4 hours of media today, so I have said a lot of words. Okay, so where do we begin with this? My husband, obviously, you guys know, he is the entire brains behind the production, and part of his job as my spouse is to keep me out of trouble, you know, make sure that I file my taxes against my better instincts, and also to make sure that if I sign a contract, I remember that I signed a contract and I don't just blurt out everything to you guys as I do, because I just feel like I'm talking on the phone and I sometimes say way too much. So last week I was telling you I was really excited to announce the next series, but there were a couple of legal hurdles that my husband was dealing with. And I can now tell you that that legal hurdle was that when I had first begun speaking with Harvey Weinstein, we had signed this limited NDA that I had completely forgotten about. And we had to go through some effort to have that NDA, to have me released from that NDA so that I could speak about the topic without me being risked, a risk of being sued. Again, all my husband's headaches, but I'm excited to tell you about that first phone call, because you're probably all wondering how did Candace Owens end up speaking with Harvey Weinstein? As I said to you guys, we have had and still have really nothing in common. It is really stunning, truly stunning. And I think actually one of the more compelling things about he and I coming together on anything. So the story actually begins in November of 2022. Like, that is how deep I am on this. And now that you know how I am in terms of organizing like a psychopath and looking at timelines and really deeply researching things so that the public can be invited to do the same, you can only imagine if I've had the runway since 2022 to do this. November of 2022 is when I was contacted by a third party, to my shock and surprise, and they asked me if I would just take a look at the Harvey case and if I would maybe be interested in interviewing him. And to be clear, this is back when Harvey Weinstein was in Los Angeles, because he was very soon going to be eventually convicted on rape charges. So we begin this conversation and I'm instantly like, yeah, of course, I would love the opportunity to interview Harvey Weinstein, obviously, for no other reason other than the fact that he is Harvey Weinstein, and it makes for a very compelling interview, a man that had so much power, who got taken down by the Me Too movement. So we had a little bit of back and forth, me and this third party, and they said, okay, well, they want to wait until he's actually convicted. That following month he was, to see if he's convicted rather. That following month in December, Harvey Weinstein was convicted in LA. Fast forward to January. That's when we got into our back forth about this sort of limited NDA. And the next thing I knew, I was being patched in on a prison line to speak with Harvey Weinstein. And this is a chapter in a future autobiography of my life that I will never forget, because it was surreal in so many ways. It was just the opposite of what I was expecting. I guess to reflect upon it, what I was expecting was to speak with a defeated man. He is a person that is sitting in a prison cell. And the way that the third party person presented it to me was that essentially, and I assumed maybe partially, everybody in the mainstream media had lied about him, and now he was maybe getting desperate and wanted to speak with me. And I can be completely honest. Like I said, my motivation behind taking the phone call was I think Harvey Weinstein's guilty, but who cares? I just would really like the opportunity to interview him about his life and how this all happened and how somebody could be where he was in life and then fall. And I've already confessed to you, I thought Harvey Weinstein was guilty because there were 107 women, just to be clear, okay? 107 women who came forth and made accusations from him. He sexually assaulted me. He did this. He sexually abused me. Whatever it was, there were just too many accusations. The media had completely flooded the zone in a way that made it impossible for me to believe that he could be anything but guilty. And like I said, I say this as someone who takes pride in always reading in between the lines and looking beneath the layer of social media manipulation and of mainstream media manipulation. But I fell for it, okay? I will just admit that. I will own that. So I just remember the casual demeanor that I had as I was being patched in. Like I was sitting like this, for those of you that are listening on audio, just sort of leaned back in a chair in this small cubicle, like, yeah, well, this guy's gotta let me take this interview. And this will be a nice little introductory phone call, nothing to worry about here. He gets patched in, he says, hello. Harvey Weinstein's voice is like a growl. And it's like, hello. That was actually really good what I did there. Hello, And the first thing he says to me, I kid you not, okay? I don't understand how you can support Donald Trump. Okay. Whoa. Stop everything. What is happening? What are we talking about? This has nothing to do with politics. My understanding is you just want me to do an interview with you. I am suddenly saying to him, yeah, and I'm answering and kind of recalculating the conversation and explaining why I support Donald Trump. And that's a known thing. Shouldn't you have already known that I support that? Why are we on the phone? And I just sort of answer, and I think I fumbled the real reason why I support him, talked about the economy and like, who cares? And then he sort of gets into like, what about Kanye? Right. So I'm fresh off of my Kanye in Paris wearing the White Lives Matter shirt. And he's asking me questions about that. And he says, I give a lot of money to the ADL. And I'm going, okay, here we go. I'm suddenly realizing that this is not the conversation that I thought that we were going to be having. I have no idea why I'm on this phone call. And then he says to me, why would I go with you? And he tells me that he's speaking with 3 other people who want to do this interview, who have much better experience and a way further reach than I have, all things that are objectively true. He then says, I've never even heard of this company you work for. He mispronounces the company that I was working for at the time. And I realized at that moment that I was being big timed for Harvey Weinstein and by Harvey Weinstein. And I just sort of sat up straight and recognized that Harvey Weinstein is still Harvey Weinstein. And he's making me pitch myself. Like I suddenly felt like I was trying out for the cheerleading team. Like I suddenly realized I'm auditioning for something and I had no idea I was going to be auditioning for something, and he's very powerful. And I want to communicate that to you guys. Harvey Weinstein is still very powerful. He is brilliant. He is not in prison because he was not innately intelligent and powerful. And I suddenly was nervous. It was so strange. I was nervous and I'm going, why am I suddenly nervous trying to pitch myself to get this interview that I thought I had in the bag? And this guy is sitting in a cell and I'm having to recalculate and recalibrate all of this very quickly as I'm on this phone. Then he named someone who is, as a fact, one of the biggest and most influential media people in the world, someone that he is friends with, who he was in talks to do the interview with, not exactly someone that I could compete with, so to speak. Like I'm just Candace Owens and I'm nowhere near as big as these people. I have never been in the mainstream media. The mainstream media doesn't like Candace Owens. And it was obvious to me at that moment that he was essentially taking this phone call to entertain his third-party friend. And it kind of clicked and it dawned on me that that person was lobbying for him to do the interview with me. That person was a fan of Candace Owens. That person believed that if I took a look at this case, I would actually give it a fair shake on the basis of past investigations that I had done. And she was really saying to him, you should do it with her. And he was disagreeing. So he was just on his phone to entertain a friend, in my view. I really felt that. And even though she felt I was the right person for the job, Harvey clearly did not. He did not think that I had the experience, and he still very much lives in the world of Miramax. He very much lives in the world of who is the best Hollywood person. He spoke to me about the right composers if I was going to do a docuseries. You know, I'm not even thinking on music composers. What are we even speaking about? I thought this is going to be about a couple of interviews. Didn't think that we had the budget to do it in the right way. I mean, you just wouldn't even believe that sort of a conversation. It wasn't what I was expecting because he's still a visionary. He still wants to make movies. He still wants to tell stories in ways that are beautiful. And it's weird to say this, but there was something about the conversation that registered to me as naive. And I'm speaking about him. It seemed in the retrospect very naive to me that he still believed in the beast that took him down. Do you know what I'm saying? Harvey Weinstein still believed in the mainstream media apparatus. He still believed in Hollywood. He still believed in the power of his friends. The very same thing, the very same apparatus that took him down, he believed in, and he just didn't know what I was. So at this point, I guess I sort of gathered myself and I started pushing back more forcefully. Like I was like, okay, I got this. Like I'm actually now just got to be Candace Owens, you know? And I got to start talking to him like he's talking to me because I'm in a business meeting. I didn't expect to be in a business meeting with somebody that's been in prison, has been sitting in prison for a year, at least a year. And that there was one moment where I knew that I had gotten him, you know, like I had sort of defeated him, so to speak, if we were just kind of going back forth, riff-raffing like New Yorkers negotiating a business deal. There was the moment where it clicked for him. And I think the moment that I wrangled it away from the mainstream people that had wanted to do this sit down with him. He said, and obviously I'm paraphrasing here, but he said about that person who was going to interview him, you know, I've been friends with her for years. She knows that I didn't do these things. I said, you know what, Harvey? You've got a lot of powerful friends. I'll admit that. You've got a lot of powerful friends in Hollywood. And where are they all now? Have any of them used their platform to speak out? Has that individual used her platform to speak out and to say to the public that she thinks that you're innocent of the reasons that you've been convicted? Where are they now? And he did this sort of growl think that he does, which was like, genuinely, this is the sound effect. And I could tell that it hit. And he said back to me, they all turned their backs on me. And I said, yeah, well, I'm not your friend. And we obviously have nothing in common and in terms of our politics, the causes that we support. But I can guarantee you that if I look into something and I believe that there is something there, I will stand up against the entire world to say something that I believe to be true. Okay? And I think that was the turning point. I think that is how we got to today. And I'm excited that at the end of this series, you guys will be able to hear a conversation between me and Harvey Weinstein. It will, I think, just explode the world. I want to remind you guys now something about Harvey, just a little bit about the background of these cases, which we will begin getting into next week, because like I said, 107 women coming out, you probably have no idea why he is in prison. Harvey Weinstein was sentenced in 2020 to 23 years in total in New York alone. Okay, 23 years in New York, 20 of those years were for criminal sexual assault in the first degree that was stemming from an accusation made from a production assistant who worked on Project Runway. Her name is Mimi Haley. I am telling you her name because she has come forward. So this is not, I'm not like, you know, unmasking a victim here. All of these people have come forward and spoken to the press and done media. The other 3 years that he received in New York was for criminal rape in the third degree of a woman named Jessica Mann. Again, just to be clear, I'm telling you the names of these individuals, and we do not have to hide these names because they have already outed themselves proudly. Then in April of last year, so after 4 years spent in prison, the New York appellate courts reversed the decision of the lower courts and ordered a new trial. They claimed that the original trial had been prejudiced by witnesses who were able to give testimony with claims that were unrelated to the charges at hand. In other words, they had allowed emotion and storytelling to flood the courtroom, where in most circumstances they would say, this is not relevant. You can't say this here. You can't just like color the jury with flowery stories. This was a very big decision, which should not be ignored. And I will tell you, having looked into these cases, that was the right decision. I think, and I'm going out on a limb here, I think that as we start going through these cases, you are going to be like I was, jaw on the floor, shocked, and you will want to conduct your own research, and you are going to wonder what the hell happens inside courtrooms. I want you guys to know his retrial begins on April 15th of this year. It's why I wanted to begin this series, because I want everyone paying attention to the trial. And I have no doubt that you will want to pay attention this time around once I give you some basic facts about just some strange context that the media chose to leave out about some strange things that happened in those courtrooms, okay? And the case in Los Angeles, for which he was found guilty in December of 2022, he was sentenced to an additional 16 years in prison for the forcible rape of Eugenia Chernyshova. This is the wildest case, and I know there are Reddit feeds of people who never got the attention that they deserved for following these cases step by step, the internet sleuths, and I have to tell you, as I fell down the rabbit hole and looked at what you wrote, it is the craziest case that I've ever read in my life. I mean, it puts everything to bed. The Eugenia Chernyshova one is, it rendered me speechless. And to be clear, there were multiple women who brought a trial against Harvey Weinstein. We started with 107. We got it dwindled now. Eugenia was the only person, despite 4 women who brought a case against him in Los Angeles. She was the only one that was able to earn a conviction. And the details, like I said, are just going to shock you. Hers was the only one that landed a conviction. What I can say is that I've never changed my stance on the Me Too movement. And this is perhaps why this third-party individual sought me out at the very beginning, as she knew that when everybody loved the Me Too movement, I instantly said, this is going to be a threat to due process, and that I have remained steady on this point, defending people who I really politically disagreed with, people like Matt Lauer. But when I looked at the details of his case, it seemed pointedly ridiculous that they were claiming or trying to present him as a rapist in the media. I remained objective about things and know that even if you don't love a person, or you think a person is immoral or wrong or cheating, as a lot of these men are definitively cheating, and they are definitively abusing their power, and the dynamics of their relationships, whether it be with employees or actresses, that is entirely different than referring to someone as a rapist. And despite those thoughts about the Me Too movement, never in a million years did I think that biases would then arrive into the courtroom. I think I've always had faith in our court system. And now that's beginning to change. Now I'm beginning to wonder if our courtrooms have been politicized, if when a movement grows so big, whether it's Black Lives Matter or Me Too, somebody has to hang, if you know what I'm saying. And I'm really excited to bring forth this series because it allows us to go backwards. It allows us to go from it getting so crazy that somebody who is as perfectly innocent as I believe he is, as Justin Baldoni, is now suffering the consequences because we didn't do the right thing years ago by objectively analyzing things about people who are definitely not puppies, like I said, people like Harvey Weinstein. So I am very much looking forward to presenting to you all, beginning next week, our newest series, as we mentioned a couple of days ago, Harvey Speaks. And yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to showing you guys this. And you, like I said, are going to be positively shocked about the details of this case. It is in and of itself a Hollywood movie that is worth producing. And yeah, I'm grateful that Harvey's team has sort of trusted me to just do what I do best. And I've said to him, look, I've told him directly a million times, I think you're an immoral man. And I cannot, after seeing all of this, see you as anything but an immoral man. Yes, you're obviously a brilliant businessman, and you're a tough negotiator, and you're a powerful person. But I will do this case justice, and I have no doubt that you guys are going to be in for a journey. So you're going to need to get your journals out next week as we map out the Harvey Weinstein files. Harvey speaks. All right, guys, before we get into everybody just losing their minds on X today because there's so much happening, the Epstein files, we've got Tate in the news. They're back on American soil. Ron DeSantis speaking out against American citizens on American soil. And of course, Ari Emanuel, I want to remind you about Planned Parenthood, because we know they have been spending millions to target vulnerable women. And the answer to that is preborn, which I'm very passionate about the work that they do. Because while Planned Parenthood is convincing them that the abortion pill is like a quick, easy solution, it's not true. It just isn't true. There's so much devastation that can follow. I know this from friends, pain, regret, the reality that you've ended a life, and there's a lot of tears, and preborn kind of steps in through innovative technology. They reach these people who are abortion determined before they take that pill, before it's too late. In fact, to date, Preborn's network of clinics have rescued over 300,000 lives, and they have seen over 90,000 women come to Christ. And it doesn't stop there. Preborn's network of clinics are with these moms every step of the way, offering counseling, maternity supplies, and the support that they need to choose life. But they cannot do it without us. Just $28 provides an ultrasound to a woman in crisis. That's it, just $28 to help her see her baby and choose life instead. So if you'd like to donate, you can just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby, or you can donate securely at preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. Also, if you are looking for a beautiful faith-filled jewelry that's more than just an accessory, you can check out my friends of The Little Catholic. I'm actually wearing a Little Catholic necklace right now. It's a small female-owned business that creates stunning handcrafted jewelry that's rooted in the Catholic faith. The Little Catholic believes that Catholic jewelry organically inspires faith, peace, and perspective in a unique way. Every time we look in the mirror or glance down, beauty is God's way of speaking to us here on earth. Their Catholic jewelry allows us to treasure those moments and reminders close to our hearts. The Little Catholic jewelry is the perfect timeless gift, rich with faith and meaning, making it a perfect choice for special occasions like baptisms, confirmations, weddings, and anniversaries. And what makes these pieces even more special is that they are crafted with love and care right here in America. So right now, my viewers will get an additional 25% off your order if you use promo code Candace25 at thelittlecatholic.com. That's thelittlecatholic.com with promo code Candace25, and you'll get 25% off your order. Okay, so we spoke about Ari Emanuel, big hot shots at WME. Yeah, so every client is on his roster, and there's no one higher up than him, essentially. And comes from a very powerful family, Rahm Emanuel being his brother, Zeke Emanuel being his other brother. They're just running it politically, socially, and you just don't get a bigger agent than Ari Emanuel, who right now is trying to take WME private, owns UFC and the WWE. Yeah, WWE, the wrestling as well. They just kind of wrangled that from Vince McMahon. So yeah, he's one of those guys that kind of speaks like he thinks that he's in an HBO flick. You know, like it's Succession. You can tell, Justin baloney, phony, ha, 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 I'm so powerful. It's just annoying. People like that are just so annoying. Life is not a movie script. Just try being a human being. And so news had broken, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that he had joined the Freakonomics podcast, the Freakonomics radio, and they had done an event that was on stage. People attended this event, and it ran live on their radio, where he had just insulted Justin Baloney and made him feel really small, and obviously did not read the room. And by read the room, I mean read the general public response to people feeling like a bunch of A-list Hollywood bullies need to be shown that bullying is unacceptable, right? And so he didn't read that room, and he decided, I'm going to bully him a little bit more and also condemn people on social media and pretend that Ryan and Blake are good people. Even though you're reading your messages and forming your own opinions, I'm going to remind you that we are the media, we have the power, and you should stop doing that. He really just kind of went so far as to say, like, social media has been great, but it's sometimes bad. Why is it bad, Ari? Because we're able to get around your PR agents. We're able to get around your pieces in The Hollywood Reporter and your pieces in TMZ and your pieces in The Cut, which we'll get to later, who just wrote an amazing hit piece on me. And those of you that are watching my podcast, yeah, Anyways, it was a bad look. It did not make anybody feel more warmed to Blake and Ryan. And now it's interesting because the host of Freakonomics, Stephen Dubner, is now coming out and saying, actually, that episode is never going to air on our podcast. And they're entitling it The Show That Never Happened, and saying that there were just tech issues with the venue during their live show. And they apparently just never recorded that episode. Take a listen to Stephen Dubner.
It turns out that the theater's PA system had crashed. We had been told earlier that it was a new system, state of the art, but, well, I don't know what happened. The next hour was pretty chaotic. The microphones aren't working, speakers aren't working, keyboard player can't get any sound out of his keyboard setup. Meanwhile, Ari Emanuel, the most famous agent in show business, is waiting backstage. What the f*** are these people doing? And then suddenly the system starts working again, at least partially. By now, it's way past the scheduled start time. So we hustle up, we wish each other good luck, and we start the show. We hang out for a little bit more at the theater, and then we go to a little after party, mostly friends and family, maybe 40, 50 folks. And that's when our excellent editor, Ellen Frankman, comes up to me with a look on her face that I couldn't quite figure out. In retrospect, she looked really ill. She was shaky, her face was pale. So I asked her, what's wrong? And she tells me that in addition to the audio failures we had earlier, there was another even bigger failure. The show had not been recorded, she says. And I didn't understand. I asked her to repeat herself. She said, they didn't record the show. At least one journalist had recorded the entire Ari Emanuel interview, but it's iPhone on the lap quality, not radio quality. So we ditched that recreation idea.
Yeah, I'm sure that is the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the whole truth. That sounds a little bit like Baldoni baloney to me. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but just so you know, it's never going to see the light of day. Most powerful guy in the room, but there were just some tech issues. And even though it ran on our radio and we're obviously have a transcript of it, it's all very fuzzy and you can't see it. Like I said, I think that they're trying to pivot and their media strategy is changing altogether. They're angry at us for being independent sleuths and mommy sleuths, which reminds me. So I was also telling you guys, the people that started the Me Too movement in general. Like we kind of have the same batch of reporters that have been involved in this. Jodi Kantor, Megan Twohey at the New York Times, and Dylan Farrow, who writes for the New Yorker or New York Magazine. I actually should check that. I'm not sure which one. I think it's the New Yorker, but let me check that. Yes, he writes for. I actually have no idea if you guys could look that up. The point being is that I suddenly got contacted by The Cut, which is owned by New York Magazine. Essentially, that's their parent company, and it's a big mainstream media publication. And the woman was essentially working on a hit piece on me, saying that I'm trying to rebrand with the Justin Baldoni and Taylor Swift situation. And I'm going, have you never listened to I have been adamantly against the Me Too movement. Oh, is this the actual article that she wrote? Thanks so much, Savannah. I have been adamantly against the Me Too movement since its inception, like since day one. I have not pivoted on this whatsoever. I have covered multiple cases about it. Amber Heard, you name it. I have said this is not good. We as women need to understand that we birth sons, we marry men. These are going to be our fathers, our sons, our husbands, and we have to believe in due process. And this was before I had any sons that I have been saying this. And she was so snarky on the phone. She essentially writes this piece and she calls me every name. Transphobic, she calls me racist, she calls me anti-Semitic. And she's basically, I guess, condemning you guys for watching my show and being like, you're being fooled. This is the headline that she came up with, this journalist who is so bad, by the way, at a hit piece. It's just boring. Hit pieces are so boring. And it's entitled by E.J. Dickinson or E.J. Dixon, Don't Fall for Candace Owens' rebrand. And she's unable to present a single fact about how I've rebranded any of my positions whatsoever. She's just like, well, people are watching her now and her show is getting a lot of views. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually not me being rebranded. It's just people seeing you for who you are. People are starting to see the mainstream media for who they are. And so if they're looking at a circumstance and they're recognizing how they have been completely lied to by a publication they trust, like a publication I used to trust, the New York Times, who were willing to essentially destroy a man's career who did nothing wrong, it becomes, I don't know, understandable to them how it might be that you've done it to others. That's it, okay? And they can go back. I haven't removed any of my content. She even tried to pretend that me wiping my Instagram to promote my book was me trying to like wipe my past. I did the exact same thing with my first book. I wiped my Instagram because I wanted the focus to be my first book, and it has nothing to do with trying to run from my past. I'm all over the internet. I'm not running from my past, and I haven't pivoted on my perspectives. And so you sense this thing over and over again where the mainstream media is getting frustrated because we are the investigators now and we are the reporters. And I'm not telling you guys what to think. I'm giving you evidence of something that I have seen happening and operating for a very long time, a nasty movement that has taken down people who are not as innocent, like I said, as Justin Baldoni, but finally, I think both sides are waking up to it. And there is a frustration because they can no longer control the narrative. And when you read this article, Candace Owens has gone mainstream. The right wing's commentators' coverage of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni case has reached millions of viewers. And she sort of, even though, here's a huge tell in articles, guys. Whenever they put in parentheses just one word, and the rest of the sentence was actually written by them, they're just taking me out of context. Like they're just fully taking any person out of context. It means actually if I presented the full sentence or the full paragraph of what this person said in its entire context, then I couldn't smear this person. And she does this all throughout the piece, like trying to paint me as an anti-Semite, as a transphobe. She uses just one word, which is a word I actually said, but doesn't actually provide the full sentence of what I said. And it's just such a tired approach. And it's just amazing to me that these people are so pompous and so arrogant and their views are down and their listeners aren't listening. And they can look at the podcast charts and see that independent media is picking up. People like Theo Von, who is neither on the left or the right, but somebody who regularly speaks about his addictions, who's now hosting people on the left and the right. And they can't figure out that people are tired of them. They're tired of being name called. Whether you're on the left or you're on the right, you're tired of being called names for thinking critically about various topics. And so I just thought it was like really interesting to just see that the dripping resentment of her trying to paint me. Like she's still going with like the literally Hitler, racist, transphobe. Show me that person that exists. How can I just be all of these things? How do I hate everybody? Maybe I do hate everybody. Actually, I'm pretty pregnant. That might not be like the wrong thing that she's saying here. Maybe I am just hating everybody at this point. I hate everybody. I hate everybody for everything that they are. Okay, whatever. But it was interesting to just see that she kind of went with that. Also, I wanted to shout you guys out because this is hilarious. So I've been saying how much, again, nuance. Even if you think someone did something wrong, you don't need to dismiss a person altogether, or if you disagree with them. That is the beauty of critical thinking. Take what you want, leave what you don't. And I don't love Taylor Swift as a person, but she's got some bops. And I've been telling you guys that I love the London Boy song, and especially because I married a guy from London. Well, somebody pointed out to me, you guys tagged me, that now a lot of people who are watching the show are going and downloading London Boy. So we're contributing to her sales, all while examining her character, which shows that we are incredibly nuanced on this show. I absolutely love you guys. And I went to her comment section and look at it. It's amazing. These are like the top comments. I would never even have heard this song until Candace Owens said she'd bop to this forever. A fact, this person never heard the song until Candace talked about it here because of her. Love you, Candace. Candace is absolutely right about this song. It's a bop. Candace absolutely sings this to George. Yes, it is also because I know all of the places that she's referring to in London. The only thing she gets wrong in that in that song is that she says high tea, and actually properly it's afternoon tea. So I knew that wasn't the right thing to do, Taylor, but it's okay. It's still a bop. You know, she could say she loves high tea, but high tea is actually what Americans think it is. It's actually afternoon tea. But I married a guy from London, so I had to learn all of these little nuances over time, but it's a bop. And I actually am so proud of that people are downloading it and loving it because, like I said before, it's good to have nuance. It's good to say, here's what I like about this person. Here's what I don't like about this person. We don't need to like rapidly dismiss people altogether or pretend that she doesn't have bops. And we are bopping to London Boy forever. All right, guys. Speaking of nuance, we should also speak about what's happening with the Tate brothers. This has been insane. And I know people hate to see me coming because I will take the time to read through a lawsuit, even if it's in a foreign language, whether it's happening in France. Like, I will say something and people will think it sounds completely insane at the time, and then I get proven right. Happened with the Becoming Brigitte series a year ago. Oh, she's crazy. She's spiraling. Now people are addicted to the series and they just want more. And they can't believe that there was something there. And I got completely lambasted by the left and the right when I came out and I said I reviewed the Tate brothers case in Romania. Now, they were being held on house arrest. First, they were in a prison cell for months and they had no charges against them. Then they were put on house arrest for about 2 years. And finally, I just said, I'm going to actually read through this entire case because everyone's telling me, Candace, you're crazy. Like, they're so guilty. And, you know, they're guilty of human sex trafficking. Obviously, even hearing that. And then they were sending me all of these videos of Andrew Tate looking like he was 10 years younger, talking about how he has a webcam service and he takes advantage of women. And I thought, okay, let me actually take a look at this because maybe there was something that I'm missing. And when I read the case, I came out and I said, they're not going to be convicted on this. There's nothing in this case. It has nothing to do with Andrew 10 years ago, 5 years ago, things he said on the internet, things that he tweeted. The case that I am looking at is going to fall apart. Well, guess what? The case fell apart, okay? And it's kind of crazy because it was this sort of extrajudicial measures that were taken by a government. And it should scare you, irrespective of whether you agree. And everybody knows I'm Catholic. My perspectives on pornography are very clear. Even if you agree and you have every right to say that you don't like if they ran a webcam business, because you shouldn't, because pornography is bad. And I think that it fundamentally weakens men. And by the way, if we're going to speak about getting rid of pornography, the very last people we should be worrying about is Andrew and Tristan Tate, okay? Let's talk about Pornhub. Like, really, guys, if we're going to go for it, let's talk about Pornhub. And so I just had the nuance, and I read the case, and everyone condemned me. How could you defend them? I'm just reading the facts, and they're not going to be convicted. Well, guess what? That happened, okay? The case ended up being thrown out in Romania. They said there's no evidence here. It's exactly what I was saying. There's not enough evidence here to bring charges against them. And the prosecutors essentially were going to have to rebuild an entire case to try to charge them, at which case it looks like the Trump administration intervened because they are American citizens. And they were just brought back to America. They are now on American soil. They landed this morning. And for some reason, people are angry about that because they don't like who Andrew and Tristan Tate are. They do not like their online personas. They don't like the way that they speak to women. And so they're happy to have these men be wrongfully convicted for something that they didn't do. I cannot understand this logic. I cannot understand why you think you need to like someone or agree with their lifestyles in order to say that no person should spend a single second in prison for something that they didn't do. Like, that is the moral stance to have, that due process is right, and that if they are an American citizen, of course, they belong back on American soil. And so Ron DeSantis, who kind of has always danced to his donors' emotions, came out and it was asked about them landing in Florida, which is, like I said, they're American citizens. And here is what Ron DeSantis said.
Governor, there's some reporting out there that controversial podcaster and accused human trafficker Andrew Tate may be on his way to Florida. Is he welcome here? What could the state do to send him back to Romania or whatever?
Well, we have no involvement in that. I read about it through the media. Clearly, the federal government has jurisdiction, whether they want to rebuff his entry into the United States, and I have confidence that whether it's Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem, that they will be looking at that. I do know our Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, is looking at what state hooks and jurisdiction we may have to be able to deal with this. But the reality is no, Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct in the air. And I don't know how it came to this. We were not involved. We were not notified. I found out through the media that this was something that was happening.
Okay, so to be very clear, that is deranged. That is not a conservative perspective. That should not be a liberal perspective. They were not convicted of anything. They were convicted of nothing. And what he is saying is that based on their conduct, even the person asking the question says they were accused. They weren't convicted. That's the point. Being accused of a crime means absolutely nothing. Okay, as we have learned, you can be accused of anything today. You can be accused of being a sexual abuser or a sexual harasser if you're Justin Baldoni. The question is, were they convicted? If the answer is no, I don't really care about how Ron DeSantis feels about an American citizen coming home. That disqualifies him for ever running for president of the United States ever again. Okay, if you cannot set aside your emotions We do not need you in leadership positions. If you are not able to look at things objectively, whether you are looking at someone and you go, oh, I don't agree with their politics. It's Matt Lauer, people that cheered that on because he was Matt Lauer and he was on the left. You're a loser. Okay? You're a loser that you can't set aside your politics, that you can't set aside your emotions, and you can't set aside your beliefs, by the way, to realize that the Constitution does not exist because of how you feel, right? Could you imagine? We're going to take a look, and he absolutely will not be welcomed here as an American citizen if enough people are outraged by it. No, the right thing to say is they have not, to my knowledge, been convicted of any crimes. They are American citizens. If you're not asking me about their character or what I believe about pornography, which we can wax poetic about all day, then yes, they belong here. That's what it means to be a citizen of somewhere. It means that you get to come home. If you're not convicted in a foreign country of something, you get to come home whenever you want. That's the right response to that. And I hope that as American citizens, we can all just agree across the line that that's the right thing to say and the right thing that should happen. And if something happens in the future and they get convicted of a crime somewhere else, okay, then what we should want for them is due process. If they get accused again of a crime, what we should always want is due process. And throughout that process, we can form our own opinions and we can look into the case and we can argue about it. And that's the way things should be. That's my opinion about the way things should be. Also reminding you guys about one of our sponsors, Beam, because I know that we all need to take more responsibility. One thing that we all need to take more responsibility for is being more self-reliant for our own health, especially when it comes to our sleep health. That's why I'm excited to share something that's made a real difference in my team's life. That is Beam's Dream Powder. Try saying that 10 times fast. Beam's Dream Powder. Beam is proudly founded in America and run by people who share our values, hard work, integrity, and delivering results. It's a science-backed, healthy nighttime blend packed with ingredients shown to improve sleep so that you can wake up refreshed and ready to take on the day. Dream is made with a powerful blend of all natural ingredients, reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. It's designed to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling amazing. And it's unlike other sleep aids because there's no next day grogginess. There's just great restful sleep. Beam has already improved over 17.5 million nights of sleep, helping people across the country wake up and feel their best. Here's the deal. Beam is giving my listeners the ultimate Patriot discount of 40% off. So if you try their best-selling Dream Powder, you'll get up to 40% off for a limited time by going to shopbeam.com/Candace. Use code Candace at checkout. That is shopbeam.com/Candace and use code Candace for up to 40% off. And you'll be supporting an American company so you can invest in yourself and start getting your best sleep tonight. Also reminding you guys about American financing because the average person today is feeling the financial strain more than ever. Expenses are up, wages aren't keeping pace, and many people are finding it nearly impossible to make ends meet. So with little left over after covering the basics, it's no surprise that many are resorting to credit cards just to get by, often carrying high balances and interest rates in the 20s or even 30s. So if you're a homeowner and you are stuck in the cycle of mounting debt, you should call my friends at American Financing. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are saving homeowners an average of $800 a month, helping you put your hard-earned money back where it belongs. Plus, if you act now, you might even be able to skip your next mortgage payment. There are no upfront fees, so it costs you nothing to find out how much you could save each month. It's time to break free from the stress of debt. Talk to American Financing today and take control of your financial future. Call 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210, or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. americanfinancing.net/Owens. Okay. Also, Epstein files. I am just tired of the Epstein conversation. We're never getting them, guys, okay? Like, I just feel like this is getting weird, and it's this excitement of, obviously, people that are implicated in these files are way too powerful, and they're never gonna let it be released. I'm filing JFK files and the Epstein files as files that the American people are never going to be able to see because the people that are involved are the people that are still in control of America. How about that? That's what I think, actually. And so it makes no sense why we have this sort of media firestorm. The Epstein files are coming, the Epstein files are coming, and Attorney General Pam Bondi went on a media blitz and talks about how these files are coming up. People are really excited. Here is her speaking to Jesse Waters on Fox News, and then I'll show you what we got. Take a listen.
One of the things a lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, is when can we see them and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims, 200. So we have well over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah. What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. But it's pretty sick what that man did.
Something that I find to be amazing about American history is how it's nearly impossible for us to ever have anything that implicates Israel declassified. Like if people know the story leading up to JFK's assassination, the arguments that he was having with Ben Gurion, the prime minister of Israel, the fact that AIPAC, then it was called AZC, was told by JFK that they had to register as foreign agents under FARA, demanded that they register as foreign agents, and that obviously you're not allowed to lobby for a foreign country according to our laws. And then lucky AIPAC, JFK got shot. And we're not allowed to see those files ever again. With Epstein, we know that he's had Mossad connections. That seems to be very apparent. CIA, Mossad stuff. Again, CIA, Mossad, I don't even know if there's a difference anymore. And suddenly it becomes very complicated to release files, right? There's just something that's just so complicated about the process. And so we learned that phase one of the files are being, and we've got to black out names, guys, because, it takes a very long time to black out victims' names. There's 250 names. You heard her. Send it to me, Pam. I will get it done in 1 hour. Not even. Actually, what am I even saying? The apps today, done, blacked out. I can color it. I can do this on Snapchat, Instagram. What do you want? What do you want? I'm just like so tired of the political back forth and pretending, oh, we're definitely going to be transparent. As soon as you know that there's any indication that Israel could be involved, we're not going to be transparent, my friends, okay? So phase one was a nothing burger. And I like a lot of the people that were at the White House and given independent journalists, they kind of made this big hoo-ha. We're giving it to independent journalists. There's Libs of TikTok. There's Liz Wheeler. There is DC Drano. And to the right, by the way, Mike Cernovich, friend of mine who was actually one of the people who we should be thanking for the fact that Epstein never got discovered in the first place. He's a lawyer, and he filed a lawsuit because he saw something funny with the Epstein case, and I've spoken to him about this. So for years, he's not a fraudulent person by any stretch of the imagination. And he even said, there's nothing here. He's saying, he's blaming it on the SDNY, that they gave Pam Bondi only a little bit, and then she gave it to these independent journalists. Guys, can somebody give it to Brian Friedman? Can we just get a website? Here's the files, unleash the files for the whole public to read. I don't need meetings with independent journalists. We are the media now. All of us are the media now. We just need a website that's operative. And like I said, we can put squigglies on victims' names. Let's just not do this song dance anymore. Can everybody just stop being fake and gay? Can we just stop? Can we all agree everywhere? We're done with it. And I'd rather someone just sit down and be like, look, unfortunately, our nation is occupied. And we did some crazy things CIA maybe shot a sitting president. So we're not going to open that can of worms. We're just business as usual. If you guys don't mind, I'd be like, you know what? I kind of appreciate that honesty. It feels refreshing coming from the state. I might be okay with it. I could probably get down with that. I'd be like, yeah, that feels kind of good. I don't know. I feel good that you're just telling me. If you're just look, we're so powerful. There's nothing you can really do about it. We're the CIA. We're going to keep doing what we want. I'd be like, okay, it feels better. That feels a little bit better than gaslighting the public constantly, right? I feel like that would be better, more preferred. Am I crazy? I don't know. Is that just weird pregnancy hormones that I would actually rather them just say we are unbelievably corrupt and everybody's in the club and you're not? I'd like that. I'd say, thank you. I'd send them a gift at Christmas. I don't know. That's how I feel. I'd send them a Thanksgiving card or something. Anyways, we're not getting it. So I just want you guys to know that. You can ignore everything. The song, the dance, the pictures, the photos, the smiles, the documents, the people. We're not getting it. this is a show and little tell. There's never going to be a tell because very powerful people are implicated. And that's the end of that. Anyways, you guys, I should see what you are saying to me and read some of your comments because we are going overtime as we always do. Why do I always have so much to say? What is wrong with me? Ben Auten writes, unrelated to Weinstein, but do you remember Randy Quaid being called a lunatic for saying there were star killers murdering celebrities? Also, why is there no peep about Ghislaine Maxwell? Where did she go? Is that the dog that's not barking? Yeah, that's a very good question. And I actually didn't follow the Randy Quaid thing. I do know that they said he was crazy, but I didn't follow why they were saying he was crazy or what he said. But generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, the crazy people are the ones that are telling the truth. And the totally sane people are the ones you have to watch out for. Zyra Mina writes, today I almost had a Suge Knight breakdown at our project group's dead weight. The only thing that stopped it was someone saying, calm down, Suge. I started laughing and I made a new friend. It happens to the best of us. Hugo writes, are you going to do a series about World War II and the reality of what really happened? I just watched a documentary called Europa, The Last Battle, but I don't know if I can trust the contents of that documentary, but I have trust in you. Well, I haven't seen that documentary, but I know that it is the most sensitive topic in the whole wide world is World War II. God forbid you speak to anyone who tells you any fact that was not approved in your third grade government class, your seventh grade class, when you learned about everything, they have a meltdown. And that there's no further proof of that than Daryl Cooper joining Tucker Carlson, who's like a historian. He's like a nice guy, and he starts giving some facts that you maybe wouldn't learn in your high school class, and there was a mainstream media meltdown. And the reason for that is because the mainstream media has always been an arm of the CIA, at least since JFK was shot. Maria writes, Leonid Radvinsky lives in Florida. He is the owner of OnlyFans. Tate brothers, not very moral, but they are citizens. This is why DeSantis will never be president. Wow, I did not know that. The owner of OnlyFans. Welcome in Florida. That's fine. You know why he's welcome in Florida? Because he hasn't been convicted of anything, and he's an American citizen. So despite the fact that I think OnlyFans is disgusting, absolutely disgusting, I would, of course, say that the person who created it belongs in America, because my issues with pornography doesn't mean that I just get to randomly convict people and tell them that they get kicked out of the country. But, you know, who am I? I'm just someone who believes that we should be following the Constitution. John writes, pre-ordered 7 copies this morning. Got to pass them out to the potentials. I got women to vet, Candace. Oh, thank you for ordering 7 copies of Make Him a Sandwich. Candace, can't step into the next year without my wife secured. Your book might just be the key. Yes, fellas, give it to a girl that you are dating. If you want to know that she's wife material, you can order her, pre-order Make Him a Sandwich, available at CandaceOwens.com. Gina writes, God bless you and your family, Candace. May Michael, the Archangel, protect you under his wings. Thank you so much for saying that. And I do believe it is the prayers that have been keeping me safe. I don't know why the mainstream media still hates me so much. I just don't get it. I promise I'm not this violent, crazy, racist, sexist, anti-Semitic, self-loathing woman. You know, I don't think I am. We can check when I get to 39 weeks pregnant. We're in the single digits now. So maybe, like I said, maybe I am a little angry at people. But I think you guys are just misrepresenting me and misrepresenting what I believe in. And I do have anger at both sides. I call everybody out all the time. I've done this forever. Go back. Like I said, my content is not being stripped from the internet. By the way, guys, look at this. Where is our little timer ticker thing for almost at 4 million subscribers on YouTube? Bring up my ticker, guys. I want them to see. Look at 5,000 more subscribers. Where are you? 5,000 more subscribers. Are you watching right now? Could you hit the subscribe button? Could you help us out? Could we get to 4 million subs so that we can party? And by party, I mean like go to bed early or something, because that would, to me, would be the best thing. That would be so exciting if I could go to bed at like 8:30 one night. Yes, I love that. Please hit the subscribe button if you are watching right now. Other than that, guys, I think that we have covered everything, and I have to just see what everyone else is in a meltdown about. There are so many things that happened today. It seemed ridiculous, but can't thank you guys enough for sticking around and not believing the mainstream media smears and libels about me. I will see you guys tomorrow.